All right, so we're going to look at integer operations today, specifically adding and subtracting integers. As a quick reminder, things like integers are things like 0 or -7 or 12 or 1 or -9. The best representation of the integers is you just think of a number line. You think of all the hash marks lighting up, all the whole numbers, all the positive, 1, 2, 3, 0, and then their mirror images, -1, -2, -3. Key ideas, notice how negatives are when we go to the left on that number line, and positives are when we go to the right. And that idea, whenever you're adding, you're going to be headed to the right, and whenever you're subtracting, you're going to be heading to the left. That's going to be hugely important. If you struggle with integer operations, or if you're just learning about it for the first time, making a number line is huge. Now, I have my number lines made for me. The last few examples, I'll make my own. But I'm going to show you how to think of each problem two different ways. But first, we'll just start with one key way to begin. So I have some examples lined up here. Let's just dive right in. Okay, if someone says to you, what's 5 minus 7? First of all, man invented negative numbers to keep track of like debt. So you could think of it as you have $5 and you're losing 7. But what I like to do is I like to start out with the left-hand side. If I start out with 5, that's what I have. Okay, so I'm going to be standing on my number line. I'm standing at 5. That's where I begin. So you can start with a left number. And keep in mind this was positive 5, so I'm really to the right 5 of 0. Okay? And now if I'm subtracting, I'm going to move left 7. Now one key concept is if you're at 5, if you have $5 and you lose 5, if you're at 5 to the right of 0 and then you move back 5, you should be at 0. So that's moving back 5, and then we can move back one more and another. So you could also just count all the hops. If that was weird what I just did, that was truly going 7 to the left. If you want, you can just count 7 to the left. Count carefully. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. And see where you end up. You end up at -2. That is the result. Okay, so let's just repeat that idea a bunch. And then I'll sort of show you how to think of the same problems a little differently if you so choose. Okay, so what do you start with? What do you have? What are you beginning with? Well, you're at -2, so that means you owe $2. Okay, so we'll start at the first number. We're at -2. And then if we're subtracting 5, that means we're going to go left 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 will report back our final position. We get -7. Okay, keep it going. What do we have now? We're at +3, so we're 3 to the right of 0. That's money that we have because it's positive. Okay, so we have $3. We're starting out at 3. Now, if we're adding 5, that means we are headed to the right. We can just count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Where do we end up? We end up at 8. You could also say if I have $3 and I put 5 on top of it, you may just know that 3 plus 5 is 8, but you can always use the number line to convince yourself, to bolster your confidence, to improve your success. Okay, so now where are we starting? We're starting out at 3 again. Again, that's 3 to the right of 0. Ooh, now this one is meant to look a little bit weird and interesting. Think of the plus sign as an and. We have 3 and -5. So another way of saying that is this is equivalent to 3 minus 5. 3 plus -5 is the same thing as 3 minus 5 if you think of the plus sign as an and. So 3 plus -5, you have $3 and then you lose 5. So you're at 3 and then you're going to lose, meaning this truly is a subtraction. We're moving to the left. We're going to move left 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And 3 to the left put us at 0. We had 2 more. Boom. That ended us at -2. Okay, so again, we're still hammering home this key idea. If we're moving left, we see subtraction. Also, again, if you see plus a negative. That's the same thing as minus. Those are all examples of us moving to the left. Now, equivalently, you could do any of these problems, and you know how we always started with the number on the left? You could have, I'll just do it on one of them so I don't crowd things up too much. You could have said, oh, here's where I want to start. Let's not go crazy with the highlighters, though. Let's say, here's where I'm starting. You could alternatively be chilling at -7. So you owe $7. You got an IOU in your wallet for $7. And then if you say that this is where you're starting at -7. Now we have 5. 5 is positive because there's no negative to the left of it because we read English and math from left to right. So now we're going to hop 5 to the right. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Boom, we're still at -2. So either way you slice it, you should end up in the exact same spot. And the number line is such a helpful visual. So recall, we're just using integers here. So 1 through infinity, almost. Can't quite get there. 0, and then -1 all the way left to -infinity. All of those evenly spaced hash marks. Those are your integers. Okay, so here we've got some more examples. So we got 5 minus 7. So you could kick it off in either one. Let's say I kick it off. I'm going to start off at 5. -7, well, that's a minus. We're going to move left. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That puts us at 0. 5 minus 5 is 0. Those are additive inverses. So that was left 5, 6, and 7. Boom, we're at -2. That's our final answer. And if you wanted to, you could have started at -7. And then since this 5 is positive, you could have moved 5 to the right from there. And boom, you're going to end up in that same spot at -2. All right. So just to kind of mix this up, so 5 plus -7, sometimes that can mess students up. That's the equivalent of 5 minus 7. That's a little bit more clear. Plus a negative, that still just means move left. Okay? So you could start out at 5 and you can move left 7, just like we did right here. Alternatively, and I alluded to this earlier, you could begin at -7. And then this 5 is positive, so that means we're going to move 5 to the right. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Either way you slice it, you're going to end up at -2. So these two examples are equivalent. 5 minus 7 is the same thing as 5 plus -7. So you can convince yourself with a number line that you are thinking about things correctly. And here comes a little bit of a curveball, if you will. So here we have 5 minus -7. So that's interesting. We saw with one negative, we move left. Again, we had one negative, we move left. Here we have two negatives. So what's kind of intriguing is this is really the same thing as moving right. 5 minus -7, well, there's two negatives there. It's the opposite. You could think of this as the opposite of -7. What's the opposite of -7? That's +7. So we're really standing at 5, and we're moving 7 to the right. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. That puts us at 12. The minus and negative might really sketch you out. So again, you could think of it as not left 7, but we're going to move right 7. What's the opposite of left 7? Well, we'll end up moving right 7. You could also think of it, I kind of think of it as toothpicks. I have this little idea in my mind. I pick up these two negatives and I stack them on top of each other, and it just turns into a giant plus sign. No matter how you slice it, you're going to end up at 12. So again, 5 plus 7 is the same as 5 minus -7. Two negatives turns into a plus. So you think of it as the opposite of -7. That's +7. Again, you think of it as the opposite of -7. That becomes +7. So it's 5 plus 7. It's really a right movement. This is really a right movement. And here we're chilling at 8. If you choose to start here, you move left 10. Well, moving left 8 would zero you out because 8 plus -8 is 0. So if you want, you can do that quickly. You could be like, that's 8, 9, and 10. You could also count all of them if that makes you feel the most comfortable. In the end, you want to do what makes you feel most comfortable and then repeat that process over and over until you can be super duper successful. And again, just to hammer the point home here, you could instead anchor yourself at -10. And then this 8 is positive. You could move 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. Boom, you're still at -2, whichever way you slice it. Okay, so again, if no one gives you a number line, take the extra 30 seconds, minute, 2, depending on the numbers and how long it takes you to fashion a number line. Make a number line. So if someone gives you like -2 minus 3. Okay, well, here's 0. Choose where you want to start. Okay, let's say you want to start right here. Like, you can write yourself these notes. Okay, so there's 0. You know, we know where 1, 2, and 3 are. That's no problem. Now we've got our mirror images. That's how we create the integers, folks. Okay, so we want to start at -2. All right, and then what we want to do is we want to go, since this is a -3, we want to go left 3. Left 1, left 2, left 3. So that's -3, -4. Where do you end up? You end up at -5, and that conceptually makes sense, like I was saying earlier. -2 and -3, that's like you owe me $2 for a soda, you owe me $3 for some chips. How much debt is that? That's $5. You could also think of it like so. You owe me $2 and you owe me $3. Again, that's more debt. You're amassing more debt. You end up at -5. So I hope this video was extremely helpful in helping you understand how to add or subtract positive or negative numbers, integers. Thank you very much. Feel free to like and subscribe. Also, post a comment. Tell me what you need help with. And I look forward to making many more videos.